Hello, today we're going to be talking about the counter idea for your play. The counter idea relates to the controlling idea. So if your controlling idea is the primary objective of your storytelling, your main theme, your main idea that you are trying to communicate to the audience, the counter idea is the idea that also exists in the play, but is fighting against your controlling idea. I know it's a lot of controlling idea, counter idea, idea, but let's just try to separate that a little bit. The controlling idea, again, is the story you're telling, the idea that wins in the end, okay? The primary thought about humanity that you want to communicate to the audience. On the other hand, this week, the counter idea is the idea that tries to stop your controlling idea, the one that fights against it. So what that means is, just like any conflict in a story or in real life, over the course of the play, your controlling idea is trying to succeed, but there's another idea that's pushing back against that, back and forth throughout the play or throughout the movie. Sometimes this one's winning, then the other one feels like it's winning, then the other is winning. This is how we build story, is with this conflict back and forth. And just a brief overview of kind of how conflict works. And the easiest way to sort of demonstrate these is through superhero movies, because you have very obvious hero-villain dynamics. So you have your superhero, and they seem to be getting the edge for a while, and now the villain does something to stop the superhero from succeeding. Now it seems like the villain is succeeding, and then the superhero does something to stop the villain, and it goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until the climax where one of them ultimately wins, usually the hero, right? It's the same sort of idea here with your controlling and counter ideas. Your counter idea is going to be phrased exactly the same way. Well, I shouldn't say exactly the same way. It's going to have the same formula as your controlling idea. So you have the value plus cause relationship, okay? This, I should clarify, is not the exact opposite of your controlling idea, okay? So if we take a look at the controlling idea for Shrek that I kind of mentioned, one of the many examples that I gave last week, we sort of settled on that for Shrek, the controlling idea might be, we find happiness, the value, he finds happiness in the end. Why or how? And then the cause, when we are honest and fight for what we want. Okay, so we find happiness when we are honest and fight for what we want. This might be the controlling idea of Shrek. So what is the idea that goes against that? What is the idea that happens throughout the movie or the play or the musical, this musical as well, that fights against that throughout? What's the other idea that we have the positive value, finding happiness, that's a positive thing. What's the negative thing that fights against that? When you phrase your counter idea, the value may very well be the exact opposite of your controlling idea. So for example, we find happiness is the value for this Shrek example. The counter idea might be that we cannot achieve happiness. We cannot achieve happiness. Or you could phrase that differently. We are always put upon, or we are depressed. But it relates to the happiness, right? You have happiness and unhappiness. This is the value that are fighting against each other, back and forth. The cause for your counter idea, however, does not relate to the controlling idea at all, because what it has to relate to is the value of your counter idea, right? It has to be the why. So if for Shrek, the controlling idea is we find happiness when we are honest and fight for what we want, and our counter idea value is we cannot achieve happiness, now we have to ask ourselves, why? What is the story saying about why we can't achieve happiness? Well, for Shrek, why does he tell himself, or why is he told that he can't be happy, right? It's because he's an ogre, he's stinky, he's rude, he's impatient, he's scary. All of these negative attributes that are given to him by everyone else, right? So this might be what we talk about. But these are all flaws, right? No one will accept him because of these things. And so up till the very end, even in the end, he doesn't believe that Fiona's going to accept him, right? He misunderstands what she's saying to Donkey in the end and thinks that it's about him. But in all that said, if then the counter idea value is we cannot achieve happiness, why is that in the case of this story? Well, it's because of all these things about Shrek of why he can't be accepted. So we might say something like, we cannot achieve happiness because we are so deeply flawed that no one will accept us. Okay? Now, this is not the idea that wins. The idea that wins is the controlling idea, right? But this is the other idea that could win. This is what creates the conflict and the tension throughout the show. Or the movie, rather, in this case, that he wants happiness, but can he achieve it? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Yes, he's going to be honest. He's going to fight for what he wants. No, he can't. He's an ogre. He's stupid. He's ugly. Yes, he's falling in love. He's going to go for it. He's going to risk it. He's going to be honest and fight for what he wants. No, you cannot. You can never marry a princess. You belong. No one likes you. No one loves you. And you are scary and hideous. I think, doesn't Farquaad call him a hideous ogre in the end or something? This hideous thing? I can't remember. Something like that. So it's these two ideas that fight, and in the climax, right, we get the one that wins out. So this is a little less complex than finding your controlling idea, but what you have to remember is that the cause of the counter idea is not an exact opposite of the controlling idea, right? Because it loses power if you do it that way. So your value, in this case, Shrek, we find happiness or we can't achieve happiness. These are sort of exact opposites, right? These values. But then the cause of each has to relate to the value. So for the controlling idea, we find happiness. Well, in this story, how do we find happiness? For the counter idea, we cannot achieve happiness. What is the reason that Shrek maybe can't achieve happiness that is being told, right? So this is the important thing, that the values are usually connected very closely and sort of opposites, but the causes of each tie back to the value of each, not to each other. Okay? So you're going to come up with a counter idea for your play. You're going to write a paragraph explaining why you came to that decision, justifying that. I've also included the same exemplar from before that has an example of sort of a controlling and counter idea as well. And there is some reading from the book story, again, connected down below to talk about counter idea. Great, thank you.